Okay. Welcome back, folks, to part 2 of our call-in show. I'm still on the line with Abby. So, Abby, you were breaking up there, so you wanna tell us what was going on again?
Where I'm supposed to order.
Yeah, can you hear me? So, to tell us again what was going on, because you were breaking up when we were on before.
Um, the entire just takes foot over the entire thing.
Yeah, just go ahead and tell the entire thing.
Okay. So about one o'clock, I'm laying in bed. Okay, and my brother, his sisters are next to me, and I screaming and crying and yelling. So I rushed out to the hallway, coming from the room. Tommy had a bad dream, and I'm like, "What happened? What was your dream?" He said, "Their dark, bad fight at me." Considering he can't speak very well, but really the best he can do. But he kind of gets pictures. And I held the footage, but they won't take that far. And then we started hearing banging in the room. And we all went in there, and I have shelves, pictures of me and my family. Shelves. And these pictures fell down, all of it. And there's no way that we could have done something by itself. The shells are level, they're all positive, they're not hanging off the edge or anything, they just fell down. And I just found it really odd that this all happened right after he had that during. He was making fun of me the rest of the night, but
Yeah, and the thing is like I was saying before, that seems pretty specific. The things for a kid his age to say. Right.
so there's nowhere else to have picked that up.
Definitely interesting, and I would say worthy of investigation. Hint, hint. All right. Well, thank you for calling in.
Yep.
Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye. All right. So that was cool. Hold on. Let me get situated again here, folks. I had to. There we go. I had to unplug my headset so we could hear her properly. I think my phone just doesn't want to go that high up in volume with some calls. It's kind of weird like that. Anyways, that plus it connects through a Wi-Fi connection, so it's kind of weird. Anyways, okay, Becca, you can't hear the show at all? Oh, I think she's talking about when I went off the air. Anyways, this one I find to be very interesting because of, well, the subject matter. Long-necked dragon dinosaur discovered. This is from the 30th of January. so not at all that long ago. Paleontologists have uncovered the fossil remains of a dinosaur that looked a bit like a dragon. Uh, Known as Kai Zhang Long, which means dragon of Kuaizhang in Chinese, the new species belongs to a group of dinosaurs called Mammon. I can't even say that word. Mammachosaurids, which are characterized by having extremely long necks that measure almost half the length of their entire bodies. This particular specimen is around 15 meters in length and was found with its head still attached to its neck, something that doesn't happen very often due to how fragile the skull fossil is. Kuaizhang Long is a cool animal. If you imagine a big animal that's half neck, you can see that evolution can do quite extraordinary things, says Tetsudo Miyashita of the University of Alberta. Nowhere else we can find dinosaurs with longer necks than those in China. The new dinosaur tells us that these extreme species thrived in isolation from the rest of the world. There is also the possibility that the discovery of fossils belonging to the dinosaur species like Kuaizhang Long might have been what originally sparked many of China's ancient dragon legends. I wonder if the ancient Chinese stumbled upon a skeleton of a long-necked dinosaur like Kuaizhang Long and pictured that mystical creature. It's a good question. But definitely a very interesting topic. And it brings up a good point, actually. Hold on one sec. Sorry, getting a drink of coffee. But it does bring up a good question. How many of our so-called myths are actually steeped in what could very well be reality? I mean, think about it. I've always said dragons were not as far-fetched as people seem to think, because they are a somewhat reptilian creature. I mean, and I've always kind of thought maybe it was a type of dinosaur that somehow survived the extinction of the rest, or what have you, and this would possibly suggest that that was correct. So that means that it is entirely possible that things like unicorns, for example, or Pegasus even, could have possibly existed at one point, or something very close to it that would have spawned these myths that we know today. So definitely a good question. I think I may have to do a show just about that. Oh, yeah, I can show you a pic. One sec. I mean, to me, I don't know if this is the dinosaur they're talking about exactly, but oh, one sec. And they're not talking about like the winged dragons. They're talking about more like the Asian type. But here's that picture. So that's the picture of the dinosaur they're referring to. It doesn't look very much like a dragon to me, granted, but who knows? Regardless, it does bring up that good question: how many of our so-called myths are steeped in truth? I mean, we don't really know, because most of our myths are based in a time there wasn't really written history. So everything was kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Expounded upon by people who didn't really understand what it is that they were looking at. Uh, Much was the case with a lot of the seafaring legends told by sailors and pirates, like the Kraken and and mermaids and stuff. There is very quite possibly a real creature that they saw, but they couldn't understand what it is that they were looking at, and so therefore applied their own beliefs to what they were seeing, and thus was born the mythology of these creatures. But how many times has that happened? I mean, think about it. Seriously. I mean, there's so many creatures that if you look at it just from a completely objective standpoint, it is entirely possible that quite a few of these actually did exist at one point. It is not at all far-fetched to believe that in early Earth history, in a much harsher environment, things like dragons existed. It's not at all far-fetched to believe that early on in the development of land mammals, horses had a protruding bone in the middle of their head. Look at a deer sometime. Believe it or not, deer is an equine creature, because equine means the hoof feet. And there are similarities between a deer and a horse. So maybe that same comparison would go between a horse and a unicorn. Who's to say? We don't know. Because if the species ever did exist, we haven't found their remains. But doesn't mean they're not out there, is my point. Okay. This is a story that will definitely please like millions of geeks around the world, myself included. The headline reads, "Real life Indiana Jones seeks the lost Ark." Filmmaker and researcher Mark Moskoff believes he is close to locating the fabled Ark of the Covenant. The golden chest believed to have held the stone tablets on which the Ten Commandments were inscribed, the Ark remains one of the most sought after and mystifying religious artifacts in history. For years, researchers have attempted to determine where it might be, or if it even still exists. Its last known location was King Solomon's Temple, but when the Babylonians conquered Jerusalem, the temple was destroyed and the Ark disappeared along with it. Enter Harry Moskoff, a researcher who spent over 25 years attempting to solve the mystery. Sometimes referred to as a Jewish Indiana Jones, Moskoff believes that the Ark, which was thought to have been placed within a room of the temple referred to as the Holy of Holies, may still be there inside a hidden chamber that was built underneath by King Solomon specifically for this purpose. No direct archaeological evidence of the temple has ever been found, and its currently accepted location on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem has been hotly debated for centuries. Is the Dome of the Rock the real place of the temple? Some Jewish sages argue that God would never put any buildings on top of the Holy of Holies. Said Moskoff, the Dome of Rock is not on the foundation stone, but rather the highest point on Mount Moriah. Moskoff's quest to locate the Ark is the subject of his book, The Ark Report. I've spoken with other archaeologists and researchers. None of them had the scriptural sources or references where the holiest and most valuable items ever in history is located. Until the remains of King Solomon's temple have been conclusively discovered, however, we may never know for sure where the Ark of the Covenant is actually located there. Now, here's what I find interesting. There's a new show called Uncovered America, I think it's called, where this gentleman goes around the world trying to uncover certain mysteries like this. And the latest episode I saw actually was really cool. It was about kind of the reality of the Da Vinci Code in a way, because he's basically saying that Mary Magdalene gave birth to the child of Jesus, which I personally do not at all doubt. I'm not trying to bag anybody's religion or shock them or whatever, but, you know, there it is. And it was very interesting because they basically tracked this mystery all over the world. And they haven't found, you know, quote-unquote proof, but who knows, they might. And there was, it's not on anymore, but there was a show that I liked quite a bit called Legend Quest, where this gentleman used like archaeology and geology as well as our knowledge of architectural design to uncover mysteries. And one of the things he believes he actually uncovered was the Holy Grail. Which he believes was actually melted down and put into the original flames on the Torch of Liberty. You know, the Statue of Liberty, her torch, that it was like melted down and put into that. So, I mean, can't prove it really, but it does kind of make you wonder. Yeah, going back to previous topic about the dragons. Becca just said, "No, me either. It looks like a long-necked dinosaur." It does, but I can also see how like early man could have confused it with something it wasn't. Because they weren't. I'm not saying that modern man is more sophisticated by any means, because the reality is we're not. Look at all the skepticism and closed-minded bullshit. Obviously, we're not as a species. But they were far less complicated back then. So that they would have strived to put everything into the simplest terms. I'm not going to go into this story, but I just want to read the headline because I think it's fucking hilarious. Drunk operative lands drone at White House. I don't even have to say any more than that, because that's freaking hilarious. I hope he buzzed the president a couple times before he landed. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. I'm trying to actually find stories that are not likely to piss me off. Which, as you can probably imagine is not fucking easy. This isn't really paranormal, but I do find this story interesting. Um, Huge cruise ship embarks on maiden voyage. Three times the size of the Titanic, the Norwegian breakaway sets off from Rotterdam to Southampton. Now, there is a YouTube video of this thing, and I'm going to post it because this thing is massive. I mean, you don't really appreciate what they're saying about three times the size of the Titanic till you actually see it. Wow. Thing is just massive. That's just crazy. But I kind of half expect that we're gonna hear that it crashed, or because history repeats itself. It really does. And for some reason, us human beings haven't seemed to learn that by now. So yeah. uh, okay, this next story kind of interesting. Rise of the Mont Order Secret Society. The Mont Order, a possible revival of several much order and more powerful secretive fraternities bearing names like Montagna, the Inner Order, Group Zero, or simply the Order, has proven to have greater influence than anyone expected during 2014. My earlier articles documented some of the first initial reports of this mysterious group's existence leading up to this development. Currently, the best existing source compiling all information on the Mont Order Society into a single dossier has been put together by author William Quaid and is available at a new website called the Mont Order Conspiracy Observatory. An explanatory video was created by me during my peer reviewing of the essay to help draw attention to the subject matter and is included here. Prompted by its exposure on the internet, In what has already been branded a conspiracy theory, the arcane and seemingly ancient Mont Order Society has already made some of its first cleverly moderated appearances for public consumption. Sometimes identifying itself as a student group and at other times as a broad coalition of thinkers and artists, the Mont Society has downplayed speculation on its origin. In a June statement variously attributed to a quote-unquote friend and the Grand Master of the Mont Order, a person identified only as L'Ordre, we gain insight into what could be the group's true origins. To respect a belief, we must first understand that belief. The Mont Order, which has many other names, is a term used to refer to the tradition by which activists and philosophers have historically compared the social and spiritual journey of mankind with the journey to the summit of a mountain. In such times when it has been a gathering of kindred students and philosophers, the Mont Order has claimed a special relationship to this metaphor, using it to drive forward a powerful symbol of spiritual progress and liberation. If I'm understanding this, which I'm fairly certain I am, and I'll go ahead and post this video too, if you guys want to check it out. But basically, if I'm understanding this correctly, what this guy's saying is that the Mont Order, which is out of France, is quite possibly like the Now, for those that don't know what the Illuminati is, well, let me explain. The Illuminati is the reason why our world is screwed. The Illuminati is the elitists that are actually in control of pretty much everything. They are in government, but they are also behind the scenes. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Rest you can find out for yourself. But they, whether it's the Lamont group or the Illuminati, they all have ties to the Templar Knights, including Freemasons, by the way. Not saying that all those orders or sects are, bent on world domination, but there you have it. Okay, this one I don't really know what to make of, to be honest, because I'm pretty sure the person you're talking about is someone you've heard me talk about. But here's the story. On February 19th, America's Most Wanted featured a new picture of the Zodiac Killer's victim, Darlene Ferrin. Pictured with Ferrin is a man of unknown identity. The man on the picture closely resembles a composite sketch of the Zodiac Killer that was formed based on eyewitness description back in 1969, shortly after the murder of Paul Stine. Police believe the photo was taken in San Francisco in the summer of 1966 or 67. And here's the picture. Okay. So I'm going to post this picture, and then I'm going to post another picture, and I want you to tell me what you think. Here's the first one. This is the picture they're talking about in this article. Okay. So keep an eye on that. Now let's go. And look at this picture. Okay, here's the second picture. Hmm. I gotta say, I'm not 100% on this one because, I mean, obviously it's two different guys, right? But I'm almost certain the second picture I just showed is the Zodiac Killer. That is a picture of Edward Wayne Edwards, who we are fairly certain was responsible for the Black Dahlia, was responsible for the Atlanta child murders, was responsible for the West Memphis 3 murders, was responsible for the Zodiac, was responsible for Jean-Benet Ramsey, and countless others over a 66-year span. In fact, the documentary they made about the West Memphis 3 is a documentary called Paradise Lost. And he appears in that movie. There's a scene where two of the parents are grieving over their son's tombstone. And he's in the background walking back and forth, almost like he's, announcing himself. Which is, pretty damn creepy. But, I don't know who the gentleman in the first picture is, but I gotta say, I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but then, of course, there's also the possibility that the Zodiac was actually two guys. Which I don't think is something that anybody's ever really considered before, because like all the one surviving victim, as well as all the witnesses only reported one guy, but he operated all over Northern California. How could he possibly do one crime in, like a park in San Francisco one day, and then just like a day or two later commits another crime in like Sacramento? It's not possible. Well, I mean, it probably is possible, but it's just the timeline doesn't really fit. So it is possible that with the Zodiac murders, he wasn't working alone. So, I don't know, just something to consider. Anywho. So that's about it for the news tonight, folks. We've got about 10 minutes left. So what I want to do now is I want to play a few things for you. You've probably heard some of these, but I want to play them anyways, just because I can. These are all EVP sessions. There is one I wanted to play that I'm still trying to find. It was from an investigation I did with my former group before I even started Ghostville Paranormal. And it was a residential case. We were up in the attic, and Class A EVP, you hear, help me, and then burning, burning, burning. But so far I've been able to find it. So maybe next time. Anyways, this is actually one of my favorites, this first one. And I think those of you that have heard it before will understand why.
Feel free. We're here to listen.
Okay. Did anybody else see that?
Yes. I don't know what she ended.
No. I'm answering a question Becca just asked in chat. She said, do you think that one of them was what they call a copycat killer, copying the Zodiac's MO? No, I don't, actually. I think that if there was more than one, then they were working together. And the reason I think that is based on profiling from the letters the Zodiac sent, as well as physical evidence taken from those letters, it is very likely we could be dealing with two people, or a very disturbed sociopath and schizophrenic, because out of, I think, like 5 letters that were sent to the police and to newspapers, only I think 3 of them had matching handwriting. So it, like, they believed for a while that he wrote 2 of them with the opposite hand, but it is quite possible it could have been written by somebody else. That, and plus the fact that, based on profiling, he was so egotistical, so narcissistic, that there's no way he would tolerate a copycat. And you would have known there was a copycat because he would have wrote somebody and said, look, this wasn't me, this is somebody else copying me. He wanted to take credit for it. So, there you go. Anyways, back to these EVPs. As Becca and Reagan, I'm sure, have heard this before, as well as possibly Jeremy. This was at Alexander Commons, and you hear Nora say whatever she said. Wasn't really paying attention to that. And then you hear me go, okay, did anybody else see that? And right after I say that, what I hear is a female voice say, come and find me, I'm in the building.
Feel free. We're here to listen.
Okay. Did anybody else see that?
Yes. I don't know what she ended.
Yeah, so it's like, come and find me. I'm in the building. You know, obviously female voice. Anyways, so you know that's an old favorite of mine. I like to play that one because it's so cool. It really is. It's awesome. And I love that place. I want to go back there, but like it's nearly impossible getting a hold of the owner of the building. So I don't know if it's ever going to happen. But if we ever do, trust me, you'll be the first to hear about it, folks. But that place is awesome. Because we got EVPs before we were ever, even investigating there. We were just doing the walkthrough, and Becca had a digital recorder running, and we were talking about how we don't touch other people's stuff, and EVP came through that said, why should Ghost Wolf move anything around? And it was Class A. It was clear as day. And then a little bit later, when we were getting ready to leave, we were talking about getting a business card from the guy so we could call him, set up our ghost hunt. And it goes, Jay, call him. Once again, clear as day, Class A EVP. All right, this next one is from our favorite place, the Farm Museum, up in the attic. So here we go. EVP session recording, attic of the Farm Museum. If you're here with us tonight, we'd really like it if you could talk to us or show yourself. Yeah, it's just three of us. Okay, I'm going to set my recorder right here. This device with the little... Okay, what I want you to pay attention to there is you hear me walking. I'm like Becca and Reagan and them, they know this place, so they know what I'm talking about. Up in the attic, it's kind of like a long hallway, kind of, and then there's stuff on, piled up on both sides because they kind of use it as storage. And we always see shadow movement at the far end of this particular part of the attic. And so I was walking, over there to set down my digital recorder like I often do because it's close to where the shadow appears and I'm trying to catch them on audio. And so you hear me obviously talking, you hear my footsteps, and then in the background you hear, I believe it was Becca and Nora that was up there with me that night. But then there's another voice that doesn't belong to either of them, and it's female, so it's definitely not mine. So let's give that another listen. EVP session recording, attic of the Farm Museum. If you're here with us tonight, we'd really like it if you could talk to us or show yourself. Yeah, it's just three of us. Okay, I'm going to set my recorder right here. This device with the little... EVP session. Really like it if you could talk to us or show yourself. Yeah, it's just three of us. Okay, I'm going to set my... Okay, it's right there, it's right after I say it's just the three of us. Alright, well, I got about 10 seconds, so thank you all for tuning in. Tune in next week. Thank you, my pack, my tribe. Until next time, peace out.